Hold on. Alright, welcome back to the Quick Speed Shop. I'm taking a break on the rocket car in the other side of the garage because I got another project here that's on a fast track. I got two of my cars. They're going to be in a movie being filmed the end of next week. It's set in 1941, so I'm using my 31 Ford Model A Coupe, which you've seen in the Drive Around Hot Rod Thrash video probably here. But the other car that I'm gonna have in the movie is this. My 1937 Ford V8-60. So what we got to do is this car has been broke down for 2 years. The 60 horsepower flathead V8 has two little water pumps that go in front of the engine cover. That's also the motor mount, and they're leaking. One's leaking, the other one's pretty stiff. So I've had a rebuild kit for 2 years to rebuild them, and I just haven't gotten around to it. And I also have the coil off it because I was putting a modern style coil on the car, and I just kind of stopped, and now it's been 2 years. So see if we can thrash and get it back on the road by next weekend. The first thing I got to do is unbury it under all this junk that it's in. So let's do that. Look at that, like magic, it comes out of under the cover, and here it is. The V8-60 was developed as an economy car for Ford in 1937, an economy option. It's 136 cubic inches mini flathead Ford V8, but this car had a different radiator, a smaller transmission, a smaller engine, and a 444 rear end gear to give you enough wheel speed and torque to take off with a small engine. They always came, the 60 horsepower cars were always standard, which was a blacked out grille, blacked out windshield frame. This car is pretty much stock. It's been amateurly restored in the 70s. It's 99% rust free. It came out of Delaware originally. It's got a paint job from 1974 on. It's basically been in storage since 74. I bought it about 4 years ago. I put it on the road, and then I had a breakdown 2 years ago, and now it's just kind of sat. So we're going to go ahead and get in here and see if we can get it going again. The way a 37 Ford hood opens, take the hood ornament, turn it, lift up. The first thing I'm going to do to make this easy to work on is take the hood sides off. These come off very easily. There's two screws, one in the front back here on the hood hinge. And one right here, which I think it just slid through this hole. It's supposed to have a clip on the back of it for a nut, but it's missing. That's right. There we go. And the panel just comes right out like that. Bam! It gives you all this room to work in here on the engine. So now here's how the 37 Ford hood works. See the hood rod here? You never pull down. You got to go up, and it releases it. Then you go down. But you pull the hood sides off. Now look, you got instant hot rod. You can run around with your motor showing. Instant hot rod. Here's a history lesson. 1937, this engine came out. They tried to make it as light as possible, and it's going to be hard to see. I won't be able to show you on camera, but they had a tin-sided block, as they called it, and then later on they went to all cast iron. But what this is the side of the engine block. They cast a big rectangular hole in the engine block, and then they welded on a sheet metal side or tin side. They welded them to the cast iron on both sides, and that's why this, to save weight. That's why this engine's called a tin-sided block. It's got the sheet metal things on the side of it. Now, this is not the original engine to this car. Originally, in 1937, this car I think was built in April or June, and by then they had stopped using the tin-sided engine, as far as I can tell from the history that I've been able to figure out on it. So it's not the original engine to the car. It also has an early timing cover, or early engine cover on the front that has a windowed, where the arms go down. They have lightning holes in them, and those used to crack, so later on they created solid ones. And this one has a windowed front mount and tin side. So this is an earlier 37 block in this mid 37 car. All right, I dug one up here. I've bought some of these over the years. Here's a replacement water pump, supposedly for this engine. So just to show you what we're looking at here, we'll unbox it. Oh, here is the water pump. It's got the pulley in the front. It's got a plastic impeller, and there's a spring that goes inside there. Now this one I think is a tapered water pump, because you can see the taper on this piece here. I think it's a tapered one, which is probably correct for this engine. So we got the 2 seals here. These are a hard rubber seal. Here's your impeller that moves the water. This is Bakelite plastic. Anyways, there's a spring that runs, there it is, that runs through the center of this. Oh, it's broken. See this little spring? It runs through the center of the shaft and holds the whole water pump together. The end of this one's broken. But you can see, if I pull the shaft out, here's the shaft comes apart on this. This has got a bushing. Here's your threaded piece that spanner wrench is going to go onto, and here's the cast iron center section. So the rebuild kit comes with a new bronze bushing for here, and then it comes with a new impeller, and we just got to take these out and see if they're tapered or straight. All right, you can see here the water pump. This is where it screws into the timing cover here, or the front cover. There's one on each side. And what I got here is a spanner wrench. Vern Tardel sells these out of California. And it goes on here, and it grasps onto the serrations in the water pump. Here's the water pump. And here, the spanner goes on here like this. And it just turns it out of the timing cover until they unthread. Is a 37 tapered water pump for the early timing cover, which I think I have here. These holes are where motor oil goes in and lubricates the bushing in the shaft. So we'll go ahead and get those out of there and see what we find. Well, I found why the passenger side was leaking. The spring was broken, the impeller fell right off. So that's why that one was leaking. So you can see this is all rusty and nasty where it had been sitting there leaking, and it's all chunky monkey. Okay, let's see if I can get one of these apart. What we got in the kit is we got a bushing. You got your main shaft. Goes through here. Now I heard the hard part is, I think the pulley is pressed onto this shaft. So that might be the hard part to get apart. Okay, after much fighting with this, I was able to put the spring through on the new old stock replacement part with my new end cap and the new spring. I'll show you a trick how I did it. I went and took the old broken off spring and I cut the end of it down to a hook. And I was able to fish it down here, because when you put the new spring into the shaft, it's short. So I was able to hook it with the end of this and pull it out with pliers and put the so here I was able to pull it out with pliers enough to get the keeper on. Now on the original one, it looks like the spring kind of mashes over into the keeper here. Well, this new one didn't do that, and it sat in the keeper, but I was a little nervous it was going to pop the keeper out and fall down. So I went the extra step, and I took this cotter key and stuck it through there and just bent it, because this will be behind the rubber boot, just to give an extra layer of protection that spring can't pull through now. It'll squeeze the keeper down, keep everything from coming apart. So now I can just take the rubber boot and place it on over here like that. So we got a new boot on the end. So I've got my one original water pump with new O-rings. I got this one all rebuilt nice. This one should be marginal. I mean, I'll have the parts if the spring does break. It's no big deal to crank it out and change the spring. I'm going to go ahead and throw them back in the car. I'll lube up these O-rings with some little bit of grease and throw them back into the car. And we'll go from there. Alright, so I got both the water pumps in. Okay, so I got it all put back together here. I got the generator on. You got the coil all wired up. and the water pump's on, the belt's on. Everything looks good. I think it is time to try to put coolant in it. And I'm going to charge up the battery, and hopefully we'll see if this fixes it and it runs. Oh, turn ignition on. Everything is no bueno, man, no bueno. Well, no spark. Let's get the meter and test a couple things here. 6 volts at the battery. See if I got any juice at the coil here. This should be, let's see. I got voltage to the coil. That would lead me to believe that I have a problem with this remote coil plate on the distributor, or I got the coil wired backwards, which I don't think I do, but let me check the directions. It's getting kind of late. I don't know how much much longer I can tinker here, but hopefully we can get it going tonight. If not, it'll be another day. And as always, thanks for watching. If this is the end of part 1 here, which it might be because I think this is getting kind of long, thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and we'll see you again at the Quick Speed Shop.